Wrestling fans, the following contest, it is for 3 falls.
It is the Free Falls Podcast with your host, sharpshooter Derek Schluter,
the best there is,
Matt Professor Pepper,
that's a spoiler,
and maybe
wrestling enthusiast Michael Punker.
And away we go.
1, 2, 3.
we are out of the fast lane and on the road to WrestleMania. It's the Three Falls Podcast. I'm Derek, and I'm joined this week by the Professor, Matt Pepper. Matt, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good, even though I'm talking to you. It's been a good week.
Yeah, unfortunately, the last couple of weeks, I was paired with you. We didn't have our safety net of, the wrestling enthusiast, Michael Punga. And unfortunately, I don't know if he's going to be here this week either.
Well, sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
Hey, guys, look, it's the sometimes wrestling co-host of the Three Falls Podcast, Michael Punga. Mike, how are you doing this week?
I think you can suck up to me later there, Derek. That's fine. That maybe in the intro was sweet enough to say, I should come on a regular basis because Derek gets mad when he's paired with Matt Pepper. How you guys doing?
Wow, that was a shot. Ouch.
Well, I mean, I had to come back in style.
I thought we were friends. We don't take shots at you.
Oh, really? Changing the intro? Yeah, okay.
Well,
Never take shots at you. Just don't listen to the last 2 weeks of the show, and everything will be fine and peachy.
Oh, well, I'm coming back with a vengeance because unfortunately I did listen to it.
That's why I don't miss shows.
Oh, okay, all right.
Everyone gets
Well,
buried when
listen,
they're not
I've
here.
had a couple of busy weeks behind me, but listen, we're back in regular style tonight, and let's get on with the show here.
Indeed, let's get on because we have lots to talk about, lots of roster moves and Hall of Fame announcements this week. We also got to talk about Fastlane, Dynamite. I know, Pepper, you're itching to talk about NWA.
Oh yeah, that's
So
my jam.
We will be also talking about that as well. What other wrestling podcast talks about the NWA on a regular basis?
I think there's an NWA podcast, but
No one knows about that. They only know about the Three Falls Podcast. They're not as entertaining as us. That's what I got to say about that. Anyway, so let's get on with the news of the week.
Well, hold on, Derek. We have a shout out this week.
Oh yes, we have a shout out. I forgot. We were talking about this before we started recording, but my old noodle doesn't really register things too well nowadays. So you have a shout out, Pepper, don't you?
Well,
Punga dropped the ball this
last couple weeks before that, but anyway, we got a message on Facebook from a fan named Nick Opalewski.
Sounds made.
So he messaged us and he asked us if we do any, if we had the network and if we take any requests for reviews.
Ooh, well, Nick, you're just in luck because we happen to do just that.
Yes, we do. Now he did give us a show to review. I let him know that primarily we do matches, but I'm going to name the show and I'll run down the card. And if there's a match that you guys want to review, I say we pick one and we'll do that for Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
So, Derek, in particular, I think you would like this show. It is Super Brawl 3.
Vader's in the headline. He's main eventing, isn't he?
He is main eventing, yes.
Yeah.
But let me run down the card. It's from February 21st, 1993. So.
Oh, I know. Let me guess the main event. Let me guess the main event.
Okay, go ahead.
Big Van Vader versus the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith.
No.
Oh.
Let me run down the card. You have the Hollywood Blondes versus Eric Watts and Marcus Bagwell. Too Cold Scorpio and Chris Benoit. Davey Boy Smith and Bill Irwin.
Oh,
Cactus Jack versus Paul Orndorff.
Bill Irwin, isn't he the crocodile hunter?
That was Steve.
Wow.
Rest well.
Bill Irwin's not dead.
No, he's not. He was Wild Bill Irwin, and also your favorite gimmick, the Goon. And the Rock and Roll Express versus the Heavenly Bodies.
Really? Because this was a year that the Heavenly Bodies wrestled in WCW, and they also wrestled, like this match that happened, the Rock and Roll Express versus the Heavenly Bodies happened on this event, and this was, what was the month?
February 1990.
February. Fast forward to November, and they're having the exact same match at the Survivor Series of the same year.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, no. That there's a lot of backstory on that match too. Dustin Rhodes
I
versus
think we found our match.
Hold on. Dustin Rhodes versus Max Payne.
Oh, no. Now we found our match.
Hold on. Barry Windham versus the Great Muta.
Never heard of him.
Oh, Matt's favorite.
And the main event is Big Van Vader versus Sting.
Ooh.
What do you guys think?
Well, as you were running it down, I wrote a bunch of the matches. You know, I pretty much have them on the card.
My pick is the Heavenly Bodies versus the Rock and Roll Express.
Punga?
I'd like
Max
to
Kane
either
versus
do...
Dustin Rhodes. I know it.
Actually, no. I was going to say be kind of interesting to see Cactus Jack and Paul Orndorff.
Which is a false count anywhere match. I'm going to veto Punga, and I'll go with the tag match as well. So
that's all right. Tag match is good.
So we will review the tag match for Nick in an upcoming episode, probably for either next week or the week after,
depending on the network, if we can, if we are able to get it anymore.
But let's continue on.
All right, let's continue on. So let's go with the Nick. Listen next week. We'll hopefully have the review for you next week, if not the week after, but hopefully next week. Keep listening. Send your feedback. The more feedback you send, the more we will read it on the air, and the more we'll be subservient to your needs. And with that being said, let's move on to the news of the week. So, where should we start? Should we just go into all the Hall of Fame stuff?
Yeah.
Let's go into all the Hall of Fame stuff. So,
all right.
Before we talk about who has been added in the last week, let's talk about who has been subtracted. It is being reported that Batista will no longer be going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Matt, do you have any details on that?
Yeah, so Batista asked the WWE if they could postpone his Hall of Fame induction this year and go for a later date. He mentioned a scheduling conflict. Obviously, he was supposed to go in last year. He was the headliner for last year, and they're catching up on 2020 inductees in 2021. So, I mean, he is a Hollywood actor. It's very likely that there is a conflict where he is working. In 2020, 2021, I mean, nothing really surprises me. And honestly, for someone like Batista, I would pretty much any of the talent, but for main event talent, I would prefer to see that with a crowd anyway. So, it's never happened to my knowledge before where somebody postponed their own Hall of Fame induction. But we won't see him in the Hall of Fame this year. It doesn't mean he's not going in. He's still going in. It's just going to be probably either next year or the year after, if I had to guess.
You know what? Why not headline when they go back to LA? I mean, they always do some type of Hollywood thing then anyways. and they're going to be at a whole brand new stadium. So that would be my guess is 2 years from now, Batista would probably headline.
After all, basketballs don't have feelings.
Okay. Just
Not sure where that came from, Derek.
That's a famous Batista quote.
Okay.
one cool thing I will say with Batista, he had a video he put on social media probably a few weeks ago. He stepped outside his house. He's taking a video of a car he had, and it was kind of an old classic. I want to say it was a lowrider. He went around to the hood, and Eddie Guerrero was spray painted on the hood of the car, like his picture painted on the hood, and it was awesome. So I always
actually
think
it's basketball. Don't hold grudges.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. But that's kind of cool. I mean, obviously they were best friends, and that's kind of cool that he kind of off that.
I just like when talent pays tribute to other talent. It's kind of neat that he's got a low rider with Eddie Guerrero on it. I just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, we can continue.
All right.
So let's move on to who has been added to the Hall of Fame this year. And I just want to say that I was right. Kane is going into the Hall of Fame.
Yes. I don't know if you guys got to see the announcement for his Hall of Fame on the bump.
I did see that. I did. It was cool. I
don't know why they had some jabroni tell him that he's going in. He should have asked me since I already knew, because I was right.
Some jabroni? Oh, say that to his face.
Yeah, I mean, who did Undertaker ever beat, right?
Exactly. I know who beat The Undertaker. Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania.
I know who did a better job at security than those guys. Derek.
Exactly. Yes, so Kane is going into the Hall of Fame. A couple of weeks ago, I did mention that's who I would pick. That's who I would put in the Hall of Fame this year. And it has been confirmed. I think it's really well overdue. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's a first-class ballot, if you ask me. And if you don't agree, I would love to hear why you don't think King should be going in.
I don't think it's a debatable topic.
Well, there's been people that, they actually were kind of upset that Kane was going in. They didn't understand why or if he deserved it or whatever.
I mean,
this is until they were griping about Kane until the next Hall of Fame inductee was announced. But that's besides the point. We'll get to that.
I mean, you look at the career he's had. He was a consistent upper mid-card main event talent from 97 until late 97 until, I don't know, when did he stop full time? 2016, 17?
Yeah.
That's a long time. And
he's had numerous titles, been in numerous feuds.
And memorable feuds at that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I meant to say. It was memorable feuds.
Yeah. Undertaker storyline, obviously. Not too many people had a better debut in the WWE than Kane.
I know, he's Jerry Lawler's dentist.
Well, he's very well
Kane.
decorated. Yeah.
Kane.
No, definitely. And you gotta remember, Team Hell No, so many memory moments in that. The list can go on and on. We could sit here all day and talk about it. He's held you could probably count on it what titles he didn't hold. I don't think he held the US title, but that's probably about it.
No, not the US. He was a 2-time Intercontinental champion.
Yeah.
12-time tag team. Hardcore.
Wow.
Hardcore he held once. ECW champion. So he had that one. He got both world titles. So the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship. If you want to count the 24/7 Championship, he held that one time. He was a Money in the Bank winner.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everybody remember that, 2010.
Most eliminations in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I think that's pretty.
And I have a fact that a lot of people don't know, and this is a fact that alone he should be going in the Hall of Fame. And that is he has wrestled the most matches in the WWE.
He has. Really?
Yes.
That's
He has
interesting.
the number
I
for
didn't
the
know
most matches wrestled in WWE. I actually came across that tidbit not a couple of days ago.
I could see that. I mean, he didn't take any extended breaks that
Oh,
I
that's
can
true.
remember. I mean, he was consistently on the show, like I said, late '97 till he probably was there 20 years, regular. I would think. Maybe I'm wrong, but no. I mean, you think about his career. I mean, you jokingly brought up the Isaac Yankem. I mean, there was a rough start for him. He had that gimmick. He was the fake Diesel. I mean, a lot of guys don't last after they get saddled with those gimmicks. So
Let me tell you something. Oh, sorry, Pepper.
No, go ahead.
So we should wait for Mike.
He's still there.
I'm here.
Mike. Oh, you're still here?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here. I
right.
don't know why my picture disappeared.
No. All right. So I actually have the match total, and he is not allowed to wrestle a single match because his number of matches that he's wrestled the most in WWE, WWF, WWF history is 1,666.
No.
Yeah. Kane.
Wow.
And actually, while I have this list open, do you want me to tell you the top 10 quickly? Because it's kind of interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go, top to bottom. So number 2 is Paul White with 1441. Then Dolph Ziggler, Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, John Cena, Sheamus, R-Truth,
Wow.
Chris Jericho, Cesaro, Cody, John Moxley, Seth Rollins, Jake Hager, which that's a surprising. Jake Hager is that.
Wow.
Natalia, Zack Ryder, Roman Reigns, Matt Hardy, and number 20 is, well, it's kind of tied. Actually, no, it's not. It's Jimmy Uso. Number 21 is Jey Uso. Isn't this crazy that a lot of these are modern guys? Like The Undertaker is number 28 on this list. He's only wrestled 830 matches.
Wow.
And right under him is Triple H.
Time off, maybe?
Number 33 is Primo.
What?
He wrestled more matches than Bray Wyatt, CM Punk, isn't Rey Mysterio? Like it's pretty crazy. When you look at this list, like this is a very deep list. It goes up to 300 people.
Wow. No, I mean, it is interesting when you think about the old WWF schedule and how many dates they run in a year. But that might be part of why the last 15, 20 years has that many matches. They have a big schedule, but not as big crazy as it was.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, you have, I don't know, look at the shape of a lot of the talent too. The nutrition's a lot different. I don't know if that plays a factor in it or not. I don't know. That's interesting though.
It's crazy though, because you think like some guys are from the 80s who wrestle like twice in one day on Sundays and every day, and they were gone on the road for 300 and some on days. You think that they would be a lot higher on the list.
Well, maybe, and I don't know if this is true or not. Do you know when they started keeping track of all these matches?
Oh yeah, well that's a good point, because a lot of these guys, like, you know, it looks like, well, I mean, like Bret Hart's on here for Big Boss Man is on here. I'm trying to find somebody that's from like way back, like at least the 80s, but you know, I can't find much. Well, yeah, Barry Darsow.
I would be curious when the actual tracking started, because that's probably, I imagine, when you get back into the 80s, because I'm assuming this is all including house shows and everything, live events.
Yeah, it has Hulk Hogan on it at 203. Bam Bam Bigelow, Hulk Hogan's number 196, and Bam Bam Bigelow's 202. John Tenta's 204.
Well, how many matches does Hogan have on there?
I just said his matches. Let me find him again. Okay, so he's wrestled 203 matches.
See, I that seems low, because we're just talking WWE, right?
Yeah.
So, because he went there in 84. but he was there before that too. But let's just say 84 up until what he leave 93. I can't see he only worked most of those matches. He had to work more than 200 times.
The source here is the Internet Wrestling Database.
Yeah, but I think that's based on what they could find. I can't. There's no way Hogan only worked 200 matches. I'd be shocked. Because that's like 9 years on his big run.
Yeah, but you got, I mean,
and that's in the
how many
heyday.
times has he worked in total though, right? Like, you gotta think, like Hogan. Okay, so Hogan was in the WWF steady from 84 to 94. That's 10 years.
Yeah.
But that 10 years wasn't like he took time off in 88. He took time off in 93. Like, he wasn't there in 94 really at all. So it was like 93.
Oh, okay.
So
But
you think about that though, and a lot of those times, like it was only one or two. Like 92, he worked what 2 appearances, 3 appearances,
well,
pay-per-views.
I'm just thinking like years like the mid 80s where they're on the road 300 days. I can't see him not working less than 200. You know what I mean? That's
when
all.
you think about it, though, just because they're on the road for 300 days doesn't mean they're working every single day.
Most of those days, though, they would do over 300 events a year. Now, I'm not saying he did 300 events, but I have a feeling he'd be close to that number in 1 year in the 80s.
Like, I mean, it says, according to this, it says Brock Lesnar has had more wrestling matches than Hulk Hogan.
Oh, I don't know, man. That's interesting. I'd like to.
It has Barry Horowitz on here. He's had 225 matches.
Now, come on. He was on TV every Saturday.
Now, there is a FAQ here. So, I mean, you know what? I'll send this to you, Matt.
Yeah.
And you can look at it, and if you want to give more analysis next week on the show, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I just like to see it.
It is pretty interesting.
You are the professor, so I mean.
Well, I'm not saying
logistics.
It just seemed. I just think that they probably only have so much data to go on. It's not that they're wrong. That's probably what's available.
Yeah. What I was gonna say really quick before we move on here about Kane, and you Matt, you were saying about his other gimmicks and stuff like that. That you think that he'd be kind of almost obsolete by after those, but remember they moved him on to, after a while they moved him on to going with Paul Bearer and the Undertaker, and I mean I think that's when obviously that took off, and I'm glad that worked out for him, because look at him now, he's a Hall of Fame inductee, right? So
when
the mayor of Knoxville.
When we were at WrestleMania 28 Fan Access and we were jumping autograph lines, I think he was one of the VIPs, if I remember correctly.
He was.
And I remember the line was massive. Absolutely massive.
A lot bigger than the one for Shawn Michaels, I remember correctly.
Yes, but Shawn Michaels was an extra, like $20 or something like that. It was a special VIP line. So don't make any smart remarks, okay?
And one day we'll tell the story about how security had to drag you away from that autograph line.
That is absolutely false. I got nowhere near the line. So
we didn't
notice he did not say that. He did not dispute the argument that security had to drag him away, though.
Yeah, we didn't see you for like an hour, so I don't know.
I actually did dispute it because I said that's false.
You said you just didn't get close enough.
They gave you a 3-minute warning.
All right. Well,
yeah, sure.
Other than Kane going to the Hall of Fame, it was also announced that the Great Khali will be going into the class of 2021 WWE Hall of Fame. Now, this one's interesting.
Yes.
I would like to get your guys' thoughts before I have my opinion on this, but I would like to get your guys' opinion on this.
Punga, you go first.
Well, I actually was kind of interested in this induction, and I thought Great Khali, and then I start thinking back of like matches that he had and things that he did. And I mean, back when he started, he was they had the Big Show, yeah, they had Kane, they had the big guys, but this guy was that towering over Big Show and Kane. He was the monster, right? And I just remember him coming in and making an impact like that. And he didn't have to talk, he didn't have to do anything. But I think my revelation through him being inducted this year is, backstage stuff that he's done, community stuff that he's been involved in, especially with the WWE being involved in and a big part of India, having shows there overseas and stuff like that. He was always that headliner, right? So this does make a lot of sense to put him in. And Tampa's a safe spot to put him in if they're going to do it. So yeah, I think it's a great inductee announcement.
Pepper, a penny for your 2 thoughts.
He was an attraction. Like he's somebody that was, you see him on a card and it's like he's immediately bigger than everyone else. He's not going to do much in the ring, but just the sheer that presence of him, he's larger than life. He's that kind of figure that WWE always liked, enjoyed. He did have some big storyline involvement. He always had a mouthpiece. I mean, it was kind of odd when his career was winding down. They went more the gimmick route with him, where he was the Punjabi playboy. He got more comedic. I mean, I don't know how long he was there for. I want to say probably 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. But he, I don't know. Fans remember the Great Khali. I'm not gonna say he's on the level of Kane or anything like that, but when you really break it down, he did have a presence on TV for quite a while. I'm kind of the opinion most people that were on the roster for an extended period of time will go in the Hall of Fame, so I don't see how he's any different than a lot of the other talent that had an extended stay on TVs. But they didn't. India has never had a big presence WWE, and he was kind of like that first person to really break ground in that. So, I mean, for an international star, I would put him in. I don't have a problem with it.
Well, I was just going to say real quick, Matt, he debuted in 2000. And what I didn't realize is that he actually had a year undefeated streak from 06 to 07.
Wow, who's gonna beat him? Come on.
I'm just saying that was kind of pretty impressive with what they put him with. So, anyways, sorry, Derek.
I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I think he's, just not. Is he more deserving than like Kane or anyone like? No, but he was like Matt. Like you said, an attraction. And Punga, he was a headliner in India. Not only that, but you got to remember of the star power that he has in somewhere like India. Just because he's not over here doesn't mean he's not over, right? And he's doing a lot of things with WWE in India today.
Yep.
He's a movie star. He was in movies. He was in The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler.
Yep.
He's held championships in WWE. He was around for a long time. He has more matches in the WWE than Bret Hart.
Wow.
So let that sink in.
I doubt that, but yes, I know what you're saying.
He has the exact same amount of matches in the WWE as Owen Hart with 411. In fact, he I just want to say he tops the top 100 superstars of having the most matches in the WWE. Anyway, so my point is he deserves to be in there, and there's a lot of people that have problem with him going in because they didn't see him as deserving or over enough or anything like that. But I mean, he played his role. He did what he had to do.
Derek, do you remember when you and I were at house show in Windsor? I think it was some kind of gauntlet match or challenge match, and different people were coming out one by one, and all of a sudden, Great Khali's music hits, and we had no idea he's gonna be there. And he comes out, and every place just pops big time because it's you just watch him walk out. It's like, wow. Then you watch him in the ring, and it's like, okay, that was a minute long or whatever. But I remember when he came out, we are like, holy, because seeing him in person.
Yeah, see him in person, and like and you gotta remember, like we're seeing him from, a good, not like we weren't very far. We were, we had decent seats, and he towered over everyone that he was around, like walking down, like the crowd that was around the aisleway. He was just like you could see him clear as day. There's from the waist up, no less.
And he would do the at that time I think he was the Punjabi Playboy, and he was doing like the hand wave dance thing, and people in the crowd are doing it. Like, so I mean, people were with it. Like, he was over a bit with the crowd. I mean, it was fun. So yeah, he's a presence. You see him, you wouldn't forget it. He's massive, just a massive human being, and I'm good with it. So I think it's a good fit for the Hall of Fame.
Now, last but not least, we have one more Hall of Fame inductee. This one has not officially been announced yet, but there's been lots of rumors circulating, lots of reports that one of the last guys to go in the 2021 Hall of Fame will be Mr. Monday Night, Rob Van Dam. Boys, your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, what a career he had. Yeah, I know he's still doing stuff, but I mean, you think about actual natural athletes in wrestling. He's one of the best that's ever been in wrestling in that regard. Very innovative, very creative in the ring. I remember the very, very first time I ever seen him was like a promo video on DirecTV for an ECW pay-per-view, and I'm watching him wrestle Bam Bam Bigelow doing flips in the crowd and spin kicks, and I'd never seen anything like it. Just like I said, in terms of an athlete, very different personality, character-wise with wrestling crowd, was just laid back, not really overly aggressive. I mean, in the ring, could be aggressive, but he was just like that everyday fan, like that would come out. His ECW entrances were awesome, where he'd go around the whole ring and high five every single person in the front row.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, it always felt like he was one of the crowd at times. Like he was they were with him, he's with them. When he went to the WWE, I mean, he was so different than everyone else there. Huge run there. I think probably one of my favorite things that he ever did is when they did that one night ECW one night stand where he challenged John Cena at the Hammerstein, and that was one of the coolest moments I'd ever seen in wrestling. And he's done well in every company he's been in. He's a star everywhere he goes. I mean, come on. He's definitely worthy of the Hall of Fame. It's well deserved.
Absolutely. One of the ECW originals. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but he in 2001 and 2002, he was actually voted most popular wrestler by readers of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And WWE actually named him the greatest star in ECW history, which, obviously you can argue about that a lot, but I mean, he was probably definitely the most notable one. But yeah, I have to say that Hammerstein Ballroom match, Matt, was pretty fun, and him and TNA as well. When he went to TNA Wrestling, I remember when he debuted there, and that was what was that, 06 or 07 maybe. and his match with AJ, I believe it was for the world title. I mean, that was a heck of a match, and at that point, he was kind of coming down from the WWE type and reign and stuff like that. So great. I hope he does go in. I think it's well deserved, definitely.
I'll never forget how over he was in 2002. At the beginning of 2002, I was at the WrestleMania where he won the Intercontinental Championship from William Regal, and that place just came unglued. And even leading up the summer of 2001, like everyone was pegging him to be the next guy, and everyone wanted him to turn against the Alliance and turn on Steve Austin and challenge Steve Austin for that title. And I think there was even I can't remember if I'm right or not, but I thought there was a pay-per-view where it was a triple threat match with Kurt Angle, Steve Austin, and Rob Van Dam, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So he was even in the main event picture, and that was months after he debuted in WWE, and that's only because of how well over he got and how over he was. And the thing with Rob Van Dam is at that time there was nobody like him. Nobody. The closest person I can remember at that time that was similar to him was Jerry Lynn. And that's why they gelled so well.
I don't know if they were similar because Jerry was more of a technical guy. They matched up because he was kind of the flyer, and Jerry was the technical guy. But they were athletic in what they did. That's
what I mean. They were athletic. No, there was not very many people who were that athletic at the time.
No, not like that.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I don't mean their wrestling style. I mean the way that how athletic they were, how smooth they were. They were doing flips and everything like that, like backflips and just jumps and that.
But in the context of a match.
Yes. And the thing is now it's commonplace in wrestling. You see it all the time. Turn on AEW, even WWE. You see all these moves. RVD is the godfather of that, in my opinion. He's the one that, everyone credits, Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart. But these kids, they're not kids. They're my age. They're my age and a little younger. And they were watching RVD as they were going out in their backyard and attempting these moves. So I think he's a pioneer. You know what? He could be the main event for this. If you want to look at the headliner, in my opinion, a lot of these guys are headliners. But if you want to look at the headliner for the 2021, it might be RVD.
Well, it's you know what? You might have a point there, Derek, too. And it's kind of cool to see, Kane and RVD go, if it happens, they both go in at the same time. Because, I mean, I remember the feuds that they had and as well as tag team partners, tag team champions. So it's kind of cool that they paired that up if they are, in fact, rumors are true that he will be going in. So, but I just it's cool. I'm glad for him. He definitely deserves it. What's he doing now? Is he? I haven't really heard much.
I think her name's Katie Forbes.
Oh.
He
Oh boy.
He'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's probably what his response
he's not
would be.
Ashamed of it, believe me. If you watch his last Impact run, he's not.
Yeah, I think he has more content than with other people as well, based on some of the videos and pictures he puts up. But
he's living a good life in retirement, if you will.
Well, there you go.
So just a couple things on him. One really cool thing with him was he was one of the kids that was called up to stage with the $1 Million Man, with the what would you do for money segments that $1 Million Man would have. And I forget, what did he have to kiss Ted DiBiase's feet or something? I think that's
wasn't he a basketball? Or maybe he was a feet kisser.
No,
I
it was
can't
the
remember.
feet kisser. It was a younger kid that had to bounce the ball 10 times, and then Virgil kicked the ball. I think he kissed DiBiase's feet, if I remember correctly. The other thing is he was trained by the Sheik, the original Sheik, and which is interesting because there was no flips going on in that training class. But I think
There might have been because Sabu was a part of that too.
Well, no, Van Damme taught Sabu how to do that stuff, and Sabu taught him how to wrestle. So that's where I think where Van Damme was pretty grounded is he kind of he knew how to build a match with that kind of stuff because he had the fundamentals. He kind of went away from it later, but it is an interesting story and definitely well deserved.
Actually, I just want to kind of switch gears for a minute here. You just said mentioned the Sheik. One news item from this past week was that Eddie Farhart Jr.
Yes,
has passed away from I believe it might have been Corona. Don't quote me on that. So I just want to send out condolences to his family, the entire family. He wrestled as Eddie Farhart Jr. and also
Sailor Ed George or Captain Ed.
Yes,
George. Yeah, Captain Ed George.
Captain Ed George or something like that. Yeah, and he was he was a fixture here in the Windsor, Detroit area, in Ohio, and all that. So just want to send our condolences out to his family.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's move on from the Hall of Fame discussion, and let's get into why Charlotte Flair has been off TV. Yeah. Actually, sorry, before we get into why Charlotte Flair's off TV, first let's go back to last week because we have an update on a news item that kind of relates to this in a way. And that is, last week we talked about how Andrade had asked for his release but was denied. Well, a couple of days later, on Monday, he was granted his release from WWE. So Andrade is gone. Now he does have his no compete. There is no compete clause in his contract, meaning he can end up anywhere. And last I read, there's a possibility that he can end up on the ROH 19th anniversary show.
Yeah, was it a week or two ago, before he got released, I was listening to Keeping It 100 with Conan, and they were talking about Andrade. And he said that Andrade and Rush are best friends. And he said that he could see him trying to get out of his deal and do something with Ring of Honor with him. He goes, because they would tear the house down. And he said, because they are best friends, so he could see that happening. But anyway, Andrade, yes, he's officially released from the WWE. I don't know the last time he was on TV. He's been off TV for quite a while. I think he was injured for a bit, and then they really didn't have anything for him. They initially declined his release, but now they've honored it. Truthfully, if they don't really have anything for him, I mean, that's probably the best thing to do at this stage. The internet's funny because there's a lot of conspiracies on this and different things. He's a good talent. He can work a lot of places. So we'll see what happens with him. I don't think he'll be out of work very long.
No, and I think you probably will see, if they're still friends, you'll see maybe Zelina Vega join him somewhere, follow him somewhere or something like that, because I don't think she's signed anywhere as well. And on that note too, I'm sure, like I say, wherever he goes, he'll be definitely a great asset to the roster. So if it's ROH, heck, that's definitely a good headliner right there. So,
well, where would you like to see him go? Honestly, I know, like, it might be overplayed, but I think he would be great in AEW. I think him in some sort of have a stable with Penta L0M and Ray Phoenix would be awesome. Or even like going to New Japan and reuniting with Naito.
I think somebody had made a picture of him with Santana and Ortiz, which probably would be kind of.
That might be kind of.
I just think, and I look at it a little bit differently. I think he's a good talent, but I don't know what you could do with him storyline wise. They had something special with him and Selena Vega. That they had chemistry together, and that's what made that work. Because if you remember before that pairing on NXT, he was good in the ring, but nothing, no reaction, nothing.
No, that's true.
So my only worry, him going to a place like AEW, he'll be in a faction that does nothing for a few months, then they'll have to reinvent him again. I think Conan had it right. I think a place like Ring of Honor, at least short term, might be interesting for him. He could probably in ring. He could work anywhere. I mean, hey Derek. Yeah, I mean, he could even do a match at NWA. Nick Aldis.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
I just think you have to. I think the thing with wrestling fans, sometimes they look at everybody that's released and they're like, should have been a world champion, could have been a world champion if they pushed him right. I think he's a good wrestler. I think he's a capable wrestler. I think he's a talented wrestler. It's finding a place for him and finding the right thing for him.
True.
I don't see that right now with him. I think it's like anything else. It's right place, right time, right people around him. Zelina Vega was what got him to where he needed to be. When they broke that up, that was it for him. So you have to find something like that for him wherever he goes. But I imagine there'll be some suitors for him. It's not like he's going to be out of work.
No, that's true. Good luck to him. Definitely, we're itching for him to get back in the ring. So.
All right, now we can talk about his other half, Charlotte, and why she has not been on TV. It has come out, obviously, if you watched Raw, that she has had COVID. I don't know when she got, when it was diagnosed. She hasn't been on TV for the last few weeks. The interesting part that I heard was that it was actually Andrade that tweeted it, or it came from him, that she could be clear, by next Monday and in time for WrestleMania. But the thing is that they took her off the posters for WrestleMania. They put Rhea Ripley in her place instead.
Yep.
Do you think there's more to it than just Charlotte getting COVID?
No, I don't.
No, there is a timeline with when you are diagnosed and test positive for COVID. You have to stay quarantined for a certain amount of time. So obviously this is what they were doing, and keeping everybody else safe, keeping her safe. Her getting replaced off of the Mania poster and in the match with Asuka, which definitely sucks, but it's great for Rhea Ripley to get that opportunity. But no, you know what? I would say if it wasn't COVID and she was just off, I would probably say there was more to do with Andrade, but I don't. It's definitely her timeline with this testing positive.
All right. I guess that's that.
Well, no, I just to go on that. No, I don't honestly think there's more to that. There was talk she's going to appear on SmackDown tonight. That was kind of rumored, but at the same time, the problem with COVID is you don't know if there's any complications even after your quarantine period. Mm-hmm. And in all seriousness, if she's not going to be in a featured match, I wouldn't promote her as being on the show. That's just my opinion, because she's one of your stars.
Right. True.
But I don't know that. I don't know for sure. We don't know the behind the scenes. There's all these rumors of like she like stormed out of a meeting wanting Andrade to get released. I don't necessarily believe that. There's no one's really with any credibility reported that yet, and that was just one of those Reddit things that I seen. So who knows? I guess we'll see when she comes back. I don't. It's not like I. They're not gonna bury her. They're not gonna dog her on the card.
No.
It's not gonna happen. To me, it should be the complete opposite. She's fixed into the show. I'm pretty sure if you're gonna have a featured women's titles match, and she's not wrestling on the show, why would you have her on the marquee? The focus should be on Rhea Ripley.
All right. So let's move on. And this week, WWE, NBC Peacock has removed a number of WWE content, including the WrestleMania 6 match between Bad News Brown and Rowdy Piper, in which Piper was wearing half black. His body was painted half black, as well as a segment from November 2005 Survivor Series, in which Vince McMahon dropped the N-word, and Booker T, he walked by Booker T, and Booker T said, "Tell me he didn't just say that." So those two segments were removed. I think there was another segment that was removed, but I can't remember at this moment. But Peacock is going through, I think, 1,700,000 hours of the library or some ridiculous number like that, and they're removing key moments that would be offensive or some would find offensive. Thoughts on this? Is this a good thing? Do you agree with Peacock doing this, or should they just put a warning beforehand? This kind of goes a little hand in hand with what's happening, like, if you will, with on Disney Plus, and also with the cancel culture that's going in around.
Well, the problem with Peacock, if you consider it a problem or not, I guess it depends on your viewpoint, is that they're advertising their network as family friendly. Now, I know that, like you said, can you just put a disclaimer on it? I'm sure they could. I don't know if there's more to it. Imagine Peacock has their own sponsors. I have a feeling it's something along those lines. They're slowly removing things off the network. I think some of the sexual content they're looking at. I think I saw something with some of the Trish Stratus Vince stuff, things of that nature they were looking at. I mean, I don't know. You can make an argument both ways on this, right? People should be able to decide on what they want to watch and what kind of content they can take in, and then other people are going to be, it's dated. You shouldn't just have it. So I don't know. I mean, the Vince thing was dated even when he did it. So I mean, I can see where a network doesn't want that on there. Piper's, that's, especially in today's climate, that's probably for the best as well. So, I mean, I can see where they're coming from on that.
Mike?
Well, I know I gotta agree with Matt. I mean, I think you hit most of the points on this. WWE should have known what they were getting into with Peacock. They should have had an arrangement, or a signed contract saying, well, we want to review all your stuff, make sure it's family friendly. What our streaming service is, and what our bottom line is. And to be honest with you, if you're gonna put nostalgic wrestling segments or matches or whatever, and it's gonna have that type of, it's gonna have racy stuff. It's gonna have stuff that nowadays it's like, what did he say? Or he's doing that. have a disclaimer. Exactly. I mean, there's disclaimers all over the place. If you're going to do that, I mean, I guess for us, if you don't own the DVD and you can't, with those types of matches or segments, I guess you won't be seeing it on Peacock. But I guess I agree 50-50 with this. Like I think that, yeah, Peacock has the right to go through the WWE content, but at the same time, both parties should have known what they were getting into. Definitely. So, Derek?
No, you know what?
Same.
It's hard to say. Like, I think that they should put up a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with the Vince thing, I mean, there's a bleeping button. You bleep everything else.
Right.
I just feel like erasing stuff like this does not get rid of it.
No.
But people think it does.
I think that anything racial is a very touchy subject, and it's hyper, even more heightened in the last couple of years, obviously. So yeah. I have a feeling that that's probably where they're looking.
Yeah, I think there should be definitely a disclaimer, even if it has to stay at the bottom. But I think it should still be there because in a roundabout way, it's a history lesson. And it's a way to show, like, okay, this is where the world was. Things were like this at this point, but we have evolved since then. And because, like, that's the thing. Like, you can't just erase this stuff because it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be there. And the more that you try and get rid of it, the more people are going to rebel, and it could go in a different way, Is
there anything that you would personally want to remove from the library?
Mae Young giving birth to a hand.
It's funny. That's the first thing that came to my mind.
No, honestly, seriously, no. There's nothing I would personally want to remove from the library. However, I'm all a fan of the WWE Network, the former form it had. What it did with Chris Benoit matches,
Right.
It kept it there. It didn't highlight it. It put up a disclaimer. I'm all for that kind of stuff because, like I said, you can't erase history. It's not going. I mean, as much as you want to erase it, it's a lesson that you can learn from it. You're supposed to learn. You're supposed to grow from it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I just see, like, as a human, like, I've done things back in my past that I don't like or I'm not proud of or that I wish I could take back, but I can't, right? It's there. I got to live with it. And the only way that I can redeem myself from it is to grow as a human being and as a person.
Yeah.
To be a better person than I was because I learned from it. And I just think this is one of those things where it's bigger than like just the network. It's a society type of thing. And, there's like, what else could you do? Like, make it for the premium people, then people pay for like content could be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like offensive,
Yeah.
right? So
that's the thing.
I don't know.
Wrestling was designed in a lot of ways to be offensive.
Well, no, I agree. Because wrestling, in my opinion, wrestling has always supposed to have been a reflection of society, right? That's why you have a whole bunch of different people, different kinds of gimmicks, and people from different walks. So if there's somebody that's offensive, well, hello, walk out your door. You will find somebody that you may find offensive, but that's the heel. And watching wrestling, you can find the babyface who, is the hero, beat up that person. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. I don't know.
Yeah, no. If I had to remove anything, it would just be Shawn Michaels.
Wow. Yeah, he was a terrible wrestler. Like, he wasn't. He didn't give anything to
Mike, just stop. Just stop, because you're just encouraging him to do it more and more and more and more.
I know.
Wow. Punga.
Thanks, Derek, for calling me down.
No, I think I know we'll keep following this. It'd be interesting to see how far they go with it.
Well, it's funny, as we were talking about this, I brought up, I just wanted to see the Peacock TV lineup of shows, and let's be honest, some of that stuff, regardless of the WWE Network being on there, some of these shows, it's from the era that those shows could be a little racy. So I'm sure they've been going through a lot of their library and erasing even sitcoms, episodes of sitcoms and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's not just going to be the wrestling WWE Network, but
yeah. Well, you can watch the new Saved by the Bell show. I'm sure it'll be family friendly.
All right, and next week we will be talking about AEW. We'll be a little bit closer to the road of WrestleMania. We might possibly review Rock and Roll Express vs. Heavenly Bodies from Super Brawl 3.
That's correct.
And many more, all the news and notes from the world of professional wrestling. Until then, I'm Derek. He's Matt, and he's Punga. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later.
Goodbye and good night.